All right, hey, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahawashi, Bahashem, Chakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and as well as the men that taught them. And peace and blessings to all you Akim out there who pushing his word with all truth and sincerity, and as well as to all you believers out there who believing on the gospel. And it's the brother Quara Abad from the GMS Houston camp. And real briefly, I want to go into a quick hit. While I say a quick hit, we'll see what the Lord, got in store. But Lord willing, this lesson do be edifying. But it's something I was just sitting here just kind of meditating on. And it's to the point of how Yahawashi, how when he came on the scene, now remember at the time he came on the scene, it was all about the law. The scribes and the Pharisees, the temple, the law. You see, the old covenant way of doing things, which even at that time, the old covenant was, pretty much we already went off. I don't want to say it was voided, but we weren't living by that no more because we broke it. You see, we broke it. That's the need of Yahawashi. That was the purpose of his coming, so we could have mercy and grace in the condition that we're in because of breaking the covenant. And what's the condition? In captivity. In captivity. And the only person who was able to keep the law perfectly in these chains of darkness, which is these bodies that we're in, the flesh, was Yahawashi. But the thing is, as he came on the scene, at a time when Israel, they was focused on the law, right? They held, the law of Moses and Moses up like that. But Yahawashi, although this man kept the law perfect, and he was the only one who could, guess what? He didn't teach us that. He taught us how to live in captivity. Yahawashi ain't teach us how we go live in the kingdom, the law, this and law that. No, he taught us how to live in our grace period, man. You see? He taught us how to live in our grace period. And that's what I was kind of just meditating on. Although he did it, but he didn't put that pressure on us to do it as well. As a matter of fact, let me get one quick precept. My burden is easy. Matter of fact, let me hold that one. I'm gonna start with this one. Reviving in our bondage. So like this is Ezra, right? It's Ezra chapter 9 and verse 8. Ezra chapter 9 and 8. It says, and now for a little space, grace have been showed from Yahweh our power. And that's when we're in a grace period right now, man. Because the first covenant, we had to try to keep the laws. If we didn't, we was going to get judged. Second covenant, they're going to be put into us. So we're in between that, right? The Lord want to see in captivity, who going to still try? Who going to ultimately have faith in Yahawashi? And again, Yahawashi gave us the example of how to live in captivity, man. You see? But a little grace have been showed to us right now while we're here. It says, Ezra 9 and 8, and now for a little space, grace have been showed from Yahweh our power to leave us a remnant to escape and to give us a nail in his holy place, that the Most High may lighten our eyes and give us a little reviving in our bondage. And that's what happened, because ultimately, the law is life. The law do bring life, but as we in these chains of darkness, it didn't bring life. You see, we didn't bring life forth as the Israelites, because we couldn't keep it perfectly. So now in bondage, since we couldn't keep it, the Lord, he ain't putting that same weight on our shoulders and say, the only way for you to be brought out of captivity, you got to be perfect. Nope. He didn't put that same pressure on us. But by way of Yahawashi, we have a little, I guess, I don't want to say freedom, but we have mercy now in Yahawashi. Let's go into the word reviving. It says reviving, to restore to life or consciousness, to resuscitate, to regain consciousness. So in captivity, we have been brought back to life, right? But it's different from the past captivities, because in the past captivities, when the Lord, I guess, sent the judge, we still had to live according to the law. We still had to please our power according to the law, and that was hard to do. But through Yahawashi, when he lived, although he kept the law perfect, which he showed, look, I'm keeping the law. You see, although I'm keeping the law, I'm showing y'all how to live. And I remember Elder Ariala said this one time. He said, the law taught us what to do. You see, Elder Ariala in Dallas, he said the law taught us what to do, as far as don't eat pork, don't commit adultery, right? Don't murder. He said, but Yahawashi, so like a truck passing, it says the law taught us what to do. Elder Ariala said the law taught us what to do. He said, but Yahawashi taught us how to do. You know, and I'm glad to hit my spirit because that's right along with this lesson, right? Yahawashi, he didn't have to teach us as far as the law. He taught us how to apply the law in captivity. It's a lot, y'all. It's traffic. But he taught us how to apply the law in captivity. In other words, how to be spiritual, make spiritual judgments. For example, if you got to work on the Sabbath, you can't keep taking the Sabbath off. It's mercy right there, man. You know, so on and so forth. Say if the Sabbath just kicked in, you got to get gas. Would you go run out of gas? No. The Yahawashi taught us how to do his mercy in certain things. Like when they was trying to stone the disciples, right? Or bring the disciples on charges because they was picking corn on the Sabbath. But right, Yahawashi gave an example. Although according to the law it might not be feasible, but it's convenient according to the Spirit, right? And mercy. And that's what the Lord taught us how to do, man. Or taught us. And that's that real reviving that we have, man. Along with the truth, which is Yahawashi, but that's that real reviving. Now that the Lord had woke us up in captivity, we not burdened with the pressure of being perfect by the law. No, just have faith in Yahawashi. And he taught us, look, some things in captivity, you might not be able to keep it to the letter according to the law. Let me get this real quick. This is Matthew chapter 11. And I'm going to start at 28. This is Yahawashi. He said, come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden. And all us was heavy laden with sins before we came into this thing, right? Wrongdoings, filth, the ways of this world, the pressures of the world, think we got to be somebody and make it and be rich and famous. Well, Yahawashi said, all you who weighed down by that, come unto me. I'm going to make it a little lighter for you. You feel me? I'm going to make it a little lighter for you. And that's the point. In captivity, while pressure already on us, he didn't put more by saying, now keep the law perfect. Nope, he didn't do that to us, man. He said, he said, believe in me and I'm going to take care of you. Believe in me, do what I say, and you're going to be straight. Matthew 11 and 28, come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. And I will give you rest. How we in captivity and we comforted? How we in captivity and we resting? Because Yahawashi, he have taught us, you know, whether it was by his walk or his apostles and disciples walk and advice they gave us after. What to do in captivity. How to be Yaquab in the society that we in. How to get by, man, and still apply truth in a world that's foreign of truth. How do we do it? Well, Yahawashi, he lived that example. That's why it's important to read the Gospels, as they call Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. You know, a lot of people don't want to read that because they don't think it's deep. No, read that. They give you the mindset, the characteristics of our Lord, man. But Matthew 11 and 28, come unto me, all you that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. He says, take my yoke upon you and learn of me. See, come into Yahawashi. And learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. That's why it's saying John 16 and 33. Right? John 16 and 33, Yahawashi said, in the world we're going to have tribulation, but in him we have peace. Now think about if the Lord said we got to be in captivity in America, we still got to keep the law perfectly. We will all be effing through. We will all be through. We will all be through, man. You see? But we ain't got to worry about all that now. Just do the work and have faith in the Lord's Son. And he says, for my yoke is easy. The Yahawashi, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. So in captivity, like IUIC, even when I was going to IUIC before I started, you know, following Great Millstone, you know, me and my wife, we felt burdened like we had to keep all the laws. I learned how to sew just because I thought I had to have fringes on all my clothes. You feel me? Like it was pressure on us because we felt we had to be perfect. Where coming into the teachings of Yahawashi by way of the apostles and elders and brothers of Great Millstone, that burden was lifted, man. In captivity, the burden was lifted. You see? Let's get one more. This Romans 3. And I'm going to start at 20. It says, therefore, by the deeds of the law, there shall no flesh be justified in his sight. For by the law is the knowledge of sin. It says, but now the righteousness of the Most High without the law is manifest. So see, it's a way to be made right in the eyes of the Heavenly Father without keeping the law. So this is a cut to IUIC. Because again, he ain't judging nobody by the old covenant. It says, being witnessed by the law and the prophets, even the righteousness, which is by faith in Yahawashi Mashiach. That's how to be made right in the eyes of the Lord now. Have faith in his Son and do what him and his Son say, man, which is far more easier in captivity than trying to keep the law perfect and trying to be a perfect Israelite, man. It says, even the righteous of the Most High, which is by faith of Yahawashi Mashiach, unto all and upon all that believe, for there is no difference. But I'm going to end it right there. I just want to kind of touch on that while I was on my spirit, you know. Yahawashi has taught us how to live in a grace period while we're in captivity, man. You know, Lord willing, that was edifying. Shalom.